And good Friday morning, everybody. We are taking a live look over downtown Denver, getting ready for overall a pretty nice day. Going to be a little bit windy, though, so make sure you hold on to your hats as you head out that door. Good morning, everybody. Jordan here alongside Erica and Nusha in for Corey this morning.
Yeah, I think I'm not wearing my hat.
Yeah,
right
I was going to say, you don't need your hat
safe
tied.
inside, you're good. Ed, though, he's in the backyard. He might need to hold on to it.
That's true. Let's check in on him right now in the 9 News backyard. We got Ed Green with your forecast. Ed, hold on.
Fortunately, not windy right now. My toupee is safe, so we're going to be good with that. However, the temperatures are on the mild side. Yesterday, we were 30 degrees at this hour. We're 43 right now. Not windy now, but I think the winds pick up as the afternoon goes on, maybe gusting to 35 miles an hour a little bit later on. You can see the temperatures in the 40s, even a 50-degree reading over the eastern plains, 52 out there in Grand Junction. As far as our forecast goes today, increasing clouds. We'll see a high right around 70, maybe an isolated late-day shower or thunderstorm, but those winds will be gusty this afternoon. Gusty winds tomorrow, but partly sunny skies. We'll see 68 degrees. And then as we look ahead, 78 on Sunday with a chance for windy conditions once again. And then a front goes through, and that'll give us an isolated shower or thunderstorm on Monday with a high of 63. Tuesday, we're at 65 degrees with a chance for mostly sunny skies. And then another chance for an isolated storm on Wednesday, high 66.
Ed, thank you. Right now, a live look at our drive from our CDOT cameras. We are looking good out here so far on your Friday morning. 270 in Vasquez moving along nicely. Same thing goes for Highway 36 and 104th Avenue. Travel for you. I-25 and 23rd looking great on the interstate. 225 in Mississippi moving along nicely as well. Bringing you over to our map. Lots and lots of green out here. No rush out the door at this very moment. Travel for you on either side of 225 in the green. Right now, that drive on westbound I-70 should be back open along the stretch. I'm going to step out where you can see that purple. We had that overnight closure between Tower Road and Colfax of I-70 both ways. Supposed to reopen right at 5, so they might be lagging behind just a hair. So something to keep in mind. We will be dealing with that again tonight from 10 o'clock till 5 o'clock Saturday morning.
All right, Erica, thank you. The deadline for an offer to clear pro-Palestinian protests at the Auraria campus has come and gone. This morning, protesters are still there. 9 News reporter Courtney Yoon joins us live from the Auraria campus this morning. Courtney, why are protesters saying that the deal wasn't good enough?
Jordan, Auraria leaders told student protesters that a group of donors would give a donation of $15,000 to the International Committee of the Red Cross if the protesters took down the encampment by 5 p.m. yesterday. It's dark right now, but the tents are still here, as you can see. In a letter to Students for a Democratic Society, campus leaders said a group of donors had come forward with a nonpartisan humanitarian solution to restore order to the quad by removing the encampment. The president of the CU Denver Students for a Democratic Society said they wholeheartedly reject any offers to buy them out. Protesters say this deal had nothing to do with their demands to divest out of Israel.
As student organizers, I'm not going to go turn to the campus and be like, hey, actually, I know, I know these demands that were able to mobilize hundreds of students. Actually, we just took a cop-out deal that doesn't really address the root cause and the root issue that a lot of our students want.
Today is the 9th day of protests on the Auraria campus. Campus leaders here said that they agree to still meet with student protesters. Live in Denver, Courtney Yoon, 9 News.
All right, Courtney, thank you.
And another campus is cleaning up after a deal was reached between pro-Palestinian protesters and the University of Minnesota. It comes after the group met with the university president and agreed to several issues, including divestment and amnesty, to ensure that they would not disrupt finals and commencement. And across the country, demonstrators have been arrested at pro-Palestinian protests.
Yeah, President Biden is weighing in on the issue. NBC's Bree Jackson has more.
From attacks on protesters at UCLA to a building being occupied at Columbia University, we've seen tensions escalate. According to a tally by NBC News, law enforcement arrested more than 2,100 people at pro-Palestinian protests across the country in the past 2 weeks. President Biden praised peaceful demonstrations while condemning acts of violence.
Peaceful protest is in the best tradition of how Americans respond to consequential issues. But neither are we a lawless country. We are a civil society, and order must prevail.
Students are calling for universities to divest from Israel and for the war in Gaza to end. The Biden administration is urging Hamas to agree to the current ceasefire deal on the table.
I will say, every day that goes by without a ceasefire right now is on Hamas, because they're the ones that are holding up an answer to this proposal, and they're the ones that are holding up reaching an immediate ceasefire that would help alleviate the suffering of the Palestinian people in Gaza.
At this pro-Jewish rally, students are calling for the release of hostages and for anti-Semitic activity to end.
Shout from the top of your lungs that the 133 hostages must be brought home now.
We are strong and together, and this is exactly what we are here for.
The president also speaking out against hate speech.
It's all wrong. It's un-American.
President Biden breaking his silence on the nationwide protest. Students making their voices heard. In Washington, Bree Jackson, NBC News.
We now know that Boulder police were responding to a trespassing call when a woman stabbed an officer at a grocery store earlier this week. This happened at Lucky's Market in North Boulder on Broadway. Police say that the woman was refusing to leave the store when they arrived. A screenshot from body cam footage shows Patricia Murphy stabbing an officer in the shoulder. Police say she then lunged toward another officer with the knife, but didn't hurt that officer. Police say they tried to negotiate with Murphy for about 45 minutes, then fired foam rounds at her before arresting her. The officer she stabbed went to the hospital and is expected to be okay. Murphy is facing several charges, including assault on a peace officer.
A former Adams County sheriff will be losing his officer's certification and spend a year on probation after pleading guilty to falsifying his own training records. Former Sheriff Rick Riggenborn, his former undersheriff Thomas McAllen, and his former division chief Michael Bethel were all charged with criminally falsifying their own records instead of just doing the training. They missed out on refreshers on stuff like how to make arrests and drive a patrol car safely. Riggenborn pleaded guilty to a felony forgery charge and 2 misdemeanors this week as a part of a plea deal that requires him to give up his state peace officer certification. If he completes probation successfully, the felony charge will be dismissed.
A sweeping proposal that would make it a crime for police to cover up wrongdoing has been gutted at the state capitol with just days left in the legislative session. The original version of the bill from Democratic Representatives Leslie Herod and Jennifer Bacon of Denver would have made it a misdemeanor for law enforcement officers not to report allegations of misconduct, required an investigation into all misconduct claims, and required departments to hold on to records of those investigations for years. A watered-down version of the bill introduced yesterday would just revoke an officer's certification if they are found to have covered up misconduct. Police groups and Republicans had called to postpone the bill completely, said they hadn't been involved in putting the bill together, and bill sponsors say that law enforcement and Republicans haven't negotiated police reform bills in good faith in years.
When it comes to something like this, the people that needed to be involved in this conversation proactively would have been all of those involved with law enforcement, our DAs, our chiefs, our sheriffs, our fraternal order of police, all of the people and entities that would greatly impact how this can be done well or done poorly.
I just want to be sure that we do not associate obstinance with stakeholdering, and that we do not require to speak to people who do not want to work with you before we make a law, and that we do not require their permission to do so.
The scaled-back bill still has to pass a final vote in the House before heading to the Senate.
As we are in the middle of a behavioral health care shortage, hundreds of employees at Rocky Mountain Crisis Partners just found out that they could be out of a job because it could be changing who's picking up the phone when Coloradans call crisis services and 988. The company says the Behavioral Health Administration chose not to renew their contracts, and the funding for both 988 and Colorado Crisis Services makes up 90% of Rocky Mountain Crisis Partners funding. That's why they said they had to send out the notice of possible layoffs to all 350 people on their team, since they don't know ultimately who will be impacted. As far as Crisis Partners is aware, this contract is going to a nonprofit out of state. They are planning to turn in their protest to that decision today. Then the state gets 10 business days to respond. Otherwise, layoffs are expected to start happening on June 30th. Crisis Services and 988 would continue, but who is answering those calls would be changing. Another whistleblower who raised concerns about safety with Boeing airplanes has passed away. Family says Joshua Dean spent the last 2 weeks in critical condition fighting pneumonia, flu, and MRSA, prompting his family to now look for an autopsy. Dean worked at Spirit Aerosystems, a supplier to Boeing, and in 2022, Dean alleged that he had found a serious manufacturing defect in Boeing MAX jets, but claims that his findings were ignored by company leadership. Investigators say another whistleblower, John Barnett, was found dead in an apparent suicide in March.
Florida is the first state to ban lab-grown meat. Governor Ron DeSantis signed that bill into law yesterday. Lawmakers say they are concerned with the safety of lab-grown meat and want more research to be done before allowing production in the state. Opponents say banning the sale of creation of cultivated meat will halt innovation and create barriers for the free market.